Right now, a single piece of metal, the size of your finger, is the only thing keeping your car from rolling away. And 75% of automatic transmission drivers are slowly destroying it every time they park. That piece of metal is called a parking pawl. It lives deep inside your transmission, and replacing it can cost anywhere from $500 to $7,000, depending on how much damage has already been done. Today I'm going to show you what this part looks like, how you're probably killing it without realizing, and the 5-second fix that costs absolutely nothing. Hidden deep within the transmission, a steel lever no bigger than a pinky finger stands between a parked car and gravity. This is the parking pawl, an unassuming piece of hardened steel rarely noticed but essential every time the shifter clicks into park. When engaged, a cam-driven actuator rod pushes the pawl outward, forcing its wedge-shaped tooth into a single notch on the transmission's output shaft ring gear. That one tooth, locked in place, becomes the only thing anchoring thousands of pounds of vehicle mass. Transmission specialists describe the pawl as a backup, not a primary brake. Its job is to catch the car if the parking brake is not set, not to bear the full load day after day. Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard Number 114 requires this redundancy, but the pawl was never meant to be the hero. When a car is left resting on the pawl alone, especially on an incline, the force on that tiny tooth can exceed 6,000 newtons, pushing the steel close to its limit. Over time, repeated stress can cause micro cracks, chipped edges, or even a pawl that refuses to lock. The return spring may lose tension, and the actuator rod can bend, making it difficult to shift out of park. The parking pawl's design is a study in mechanical simplicity and vulnerability. Like balancing a car on the edge of a paperclip, its strength is real, but not infinite. The solution remains straightforward. Set the parking brake first, and let the pawl serve as the backup it was always intended to be. 3 out of 4 drivers skip the parking brake without a second thought. You pull into a spot, shift to park, and let your foot off the brake. Done. But that shortcut is quietly grinding away at your transmission, whether you are parked on Main Street or just outside your house. The Society of Automotive Engineers ran a nationwide survey and found that about 75% of automatic drivers admit they rarely, if ever, use the parking brake. It is not just forgetfulness. The habit starts with what you are taught, or not taught. Most driver education classes for automatics barely mention the parking brake at all. Manuals focus on shifting to park, but skip the step that actually protects your car's insides. Younger drivers are even more likely to skip the brake, with observational studies showing the highest rates of non-use among people under 35. On flat ground, over 70% in this age group rely only on the transmission. That number jumps to nearly 90% when there is even a mild slope. The logic is simple, the car feels stable, the shifter clicks into place, and nobody has ever explained why that is not enough. Convenience wins over caution, especially if you have never seen the fallout firsthand. Researchers at the Society of Automotive Engineers and transmission specialists at Dorman Products and Street Smart Transmission warn that this everyday routine loads all the weight of your vehicle, sometimes 3,000 pounds, onto a steel pin the size of your pinky. Over time, this shortcut turns into an expensive gamble. It is not a rare mistake. It is a widespread habit, quietly setting up millions of cars for future trouble. The next time you park, remember, skipping the brake is not just about saving a second. It is about putting your transmission on the line. Every time you skip the parking brake and let your car settle into park, you're gambling with the part that's smaller than your pinky and buried deep inside your transmission. That steel pawl isn't just holding your car still, it's taking the full weight of your vehicle, sometimes over 3,000 pounds. On even a mild slope, the force on that tiny tooth can spike past 6,000 newtons, enough to pit the metal in just a few months of daily use. Transmission specialists at Dorman Products have torn down units where the pawl tooth is chipped, the edges rounded off, and the gear notches visibly scarred, all from drivers relying on park instead of the brake. One doorman mechanic described a customer's car that rolled back 2 inches every time it was parked, the classic sign of a worn pawl struggling to hold. If you've ever heard a loud clunk when shifting out of park, or felt the shifter jam on a hill, that's the pawl crying out under impact load. Over time, you might notice your car creeping after you think it's secure, or the lever refusing to budge until you rock the car. These are the warning signs, clicks, clunks, and creeping, that tell you the hidden damage is adding up, one shortcut at a time. That tiny steel pawl buried in your transmission might cost just $18 at the parts counter, but if it fails, your wallet is in for a shock. Here is the reality. Replacing the pawl itself is cheap, less than the price of a tank of gas. But to get to it, a mechanic has to pull the entire transmission, drain the fluid, disconnect the drive shaft, and tear down the guts of your car's most expensive system. Labor alone can run 4 to 6 hours at $120 an hour. Street Smart Transmission, one of the largest rebuilders in the country, says most pawl jobs walk out the door at $1,200. If the parking gear is damaged too, or the shifter linkage is bent, that bill can climb to $2,000 or more. In severe cases, like when chipped metal circulates through the valve body or the gear set, a full rebuild or replacement can top $7,000, all because a part smaller than your pinky took the hit day after day. That's the price ladder. Skip a 5-second habit, and you risk turning an $18 oversight into a year's worth of car payments. The fix costs nothing but a few seconds every time you park. You might think skipping the parking brake is just a harmless shortcut, but the numbers tell a different story. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, rollaway incidents linked to parking pawl failure have caused around 450 deaths and over 1,200 injuries in the United States since 2000. That is not just a freak accident, it is a real, repeating risk, even if you have never seen it firsthand. The most tragic example hit headlines in 2016 when actor Anton Yelchin was killed after his Jeep Grand Cherokee rolled down his driveway. Investigators found the car was left in park, but the parking brake was not set. Years of relying on the pawl alone had weakened the mechanism. The vehicle moved just enough to pin him against a brick pillar, one of the most public reminders that a tiny part can have life or death consequences. This is not just about one make or model. Nissan recalled more than 200,000 Frontier and Titan trucks in 2022, after owners reported their vehicles could roll away, even on flat ground. Inspections revealed excessive wear on the pawl tooth, always traced back to drivers skipping the parking brake. NHTS. data shows the trend has only grown since the early 2010s, as more people drive automatics and fewer use the brake. The cost is not just measured in lives lost. The average rollaway incident racks up $8,000 to $12,000 in property damage, and $15,000 for medical bills. These are not rare, one-off disasters. They are a pattern, and the fix is free. Set the parking brake before you shift to park, every single time, no matter where you park. Every time you park, you face a choice that could save your transmission or quietly destroy it. Here's the fix, a habit so quick you'll have it down before your coffee cools. Keep your foot on the brake as you come to a full stop. While your foot's still pressing, pull up the parking brake lever or push the button, whichever your car uses. Now, and only now, let your foot off the brake. Feel the car settle. That is the parking brake taking the load, not a finger-sized steel tooth buried inside your transmission. Finally, shift the lever to park. That's it. 5 steps, 5 seconds, 0 extra cost. This is not just mechanic folklore. Transmission specialists, AAA, and every major service manual recommend this sequence. The Society of Automotive Engineers has tested it. You are letting the brake do the heavy lifting, while the pawl stands by as backup, exactly as it was designed. If your car has an electronic parking brake, or you drive a newer electric vehicle, you might notice the system does this for you automatically. Most new models now engage the brake as soon as you select park, and some even disengage it when you drive away. But for millions of cars on the road, this habit is still in your hands. 5 seconds now means thousands saved later, and peace of mind every time you walk away. If you skip the parking brake, you are trusting a metal finger smaller than your pinky to stop 2 tons of steel, while risking thousands in repairs and rare but real rollaway tragedies. Use your parking brake and treat park as a backup. 5 seconds every time. Brake on, then park. Send this to someone who never uses their parking brake.